As we all know, the San Antonio Spurs are in search for a wing. Our top available options are Giannis, Kevin Durant, RJ Barrett, and Cam Johnson. And there's some options I'm not really sure that would work, but you could get spicy with it and add Cooper Flagg and Trey Murphy III. And amidst the rumors, Kevin Durant has been talked about the most this season, especially since the playoffs started. Kevin Durant is 36 years old, will be turning 37 this year. Despite his age, he is still a hooper, averaging 26 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists over this past season on the Suns. He is my favorite player, so I'd actually be very delighted to have him on my team. And he's not only my favorite player, but he's also Victor Wembanyama's favorite player. So having your favorite player and your mentor on the same team as you, that almost sounds kind of mystical in Wemby's perspective. It would also be mystical to have an elite scorer like Kevin Durant who could stretch the floor and hit some timely mid-range shots, timely clutch shots. And I think he could be a really good fit. Sure, he's not the prettiest defender ever, but just like in his Warrior days, if he has a good defensive team around him, he could get it done on that side of the ball, using his long wingspan to harass opposing teams and using his shot blocking ability. Shoot, even with the Suns, he's had his moments. Even at UNC status, he is not a cone. So at 6'10" or whatever height he says he is, I am not worried about him on that side. The Spurs need offense, and he is probably one of the cheaper options to go and get, so I'd recommend that we do go and get him. I think it would be good for his career too, because he hasn't really been lucky in the injury department. And one thing the Spurs are good at is managing their players. If you don't believe me, look at the game log of Chris Paul this season. That dude played 82 games at 40 years old. Sure, that could be luck, or that could also mean the Spurs are just good at handling players' minutes. And maybe it has to do with stuff out the court too, considering like maybe the way they eat and the way they train. Kawhi Leonard is probably the only player we have failed in this department, but the Spurs learn from their mistakes. So I know Kevin Durant will be just fine. And like I mentioned earlier, what's crazy is we probably wouldn't even have to give up our number 2 pick. Like, he's that dirt cheap right now. Either Devin Vassell or Keldon Johnson or even Jeremy Sohan could be moved. And honestly, like, listing off those players, that isn't even that bad of like a trade-off. It's definitely time to move on from Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell. They haven't been the scorers we need, and honestly, like, it's better we trade them now so that they don't just sit on our roster for nothing and we gain nothing from them by just having them lose their value like that. I would be pretty upset to see Jeremy Sohan go though. I felt like he had a really good second year. He became more of a threat on the cuts and the lobs, and especially on the defensive end where he holds his hat under. With much room to improve, and a Spurs team that wants to win now, it might not be the best time to wait around and have him develop while we're trying to win games. While being the most expensive option, Giannis is another option to add to the wing spot, and this could be the move that sets us over the top for the next few years. Because in the last 3 years or so, Giannis has been like a top 3 MVP candidate, and I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. His ability to get to the basket and literally bulldoze through other defenders, it's like no other. Giannis averaged 30 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists last season. And if it wasn't for his team being so cooked, that brother would have probably had a deep playoff run with the way he was playing this season. And as much as the Spurs or maybe even the Houston Rockets want him, it's so unlikely. I've seen multiple things of him saying he wants to play for a higher market or bigger market. Or I think it was him talking about he wants other players to play on bigger markets. But for some reason, I just cannot see him in another jersey other than the Bucks jersey. I feel like he's one of those players that just will retire a Buck and he just will not go anywhere else other than stay in Milwaukee. No matter how many times he says he wants out or he wants the team to get improved or whatever he says, sad truth is, it's either he's going to cost a lot or he's just not going. And by a lot, I mean we'd probably have to go Castle, our number 2 pick, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, maybe Jeremy Sohan, multiple picks. And as much as I like Giannis, it's just, I don't know about that whole package. I've always liked the idea of a slow rebuild, so trading away Castle or Dylan Harper, or just any of our younger players, it'd feel like we're just giving them away without seeing their actual potential. So that's why, low-key, even if Giannis is available, I think we'll low-key sit on it. Mostly because of his price, but also, I think the Spurs are smart enough to realize sometimes you don't have to rush things. and trading away all your future assets could be a detriment to the future, especially if you haven't even let them play or even see what they could do. And like another question I've never heard anyone like even think about is, what would it do to our spacing getting someone like Giannis? I'm sure we would go out and get somebody else to help with that, but you'd have to waste more assets in order to even do that. So yes, I love Giannis, but it's just so many questions and such a high price to pay that might not even be worth it in the end. Lately, I've been seeing rumors about RJ Barrett being available, and low key, for us, I'm just not feeling it, bruh. In this last season, RJ Barrett averaged 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. And why I think we should probably sit on this one is, this dude is literally the same height as Stephon Castle. And we already know we are not making Stephon Castle play as our small forward wing. I like RJ Barrett, he's a very streaky player, but as for the fit for us, absolutely not. For what we're looking for, I think he's just too small. And for what he puts out, I don't think he's really the superstar we're looking for, or the star we're looking for. And I'd hope we're smart enough to not trade anything valuable that we have for him. No offense, RJ Barrett. Now, I like Cam Johnson too, but the same thing with him. If we have to give up so much for him, then it's just not even worth it to even make that move. I saw what the Knicks were willing to give the Brooklyn Nets for Mikal Bridges. And I know Cam Johnson's no Mikal Bridges, but it's like Nets GM might be in his own head thinking he could get more value for a player than they actually are worth. This season, he averaged 18 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists, while shooting 39% from the field, which is not bad at all. He's listed at 6'8", so he definitely has the height too. And depending on the price, I think he could be a good pickup, but it's just not the splash the Spurs are probably looking for, I guess. If we're really invested in Wemby and De'Aaron Fox being our 2 superstars for the future, yes, but if not, and we're looking for something else, then maybe not. Because Cam Johnson is a quality role player, but maybe it's just best we look in a different direction. Because honestly, I don't even know if we want a 3rd superstar. Now, if we really are about waiting it out, then I think Cooper Flag could be an amazing option. He averaged 19 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists in his season with Duke. It's unlikely that we do get him, but I think it's worth trying. I'm curious to what we would even offer, like maybe the number 2 pick, maybe a player, 14th pick, or multiple picks in the future. If we're trying to invest into a wing, I think this one could be the one. Because no matter how much we give up, I still think it'll be worth it. 1, he's young and he could spend multiple years in the league and grow alongside Wemby. And 2, he could shoot the 3, and he's more than capable of being a great defender in the league for many years. I could see him being the 2nd option or 3rd option on the Spurs, and I don't think he's so demanding to where he'd get in the way of Wemby and Fox's ability to score the ball, because from what I've seen, he could be really good off the ball. He shot 38% from the 3, which is not bad at all, and I could see him drastically improving that. Trey Murphy III is your typical 3-and-D wing. He's an excellent floor spacer, and he also plays really good perimeter defense. He's also a player that really does not demand a lot of touch on the ball, because he's more so a catch-and-shoot player that also plays really good D. I'm not sure what the Pelicans' asking price would be for him, but surely it couldn't cost too much, right? He's only 24, so that aligns with our timeline as well. And I think he could be like a better version of Cam Johnson. He might even be better right now. Averaged 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists this season. And I just checked and he averages 3 more points and 1 more rebound than him. It doesn't make him a significant better player than him, but I think I'd like Trey Murphy III better because he's like 4 years younger than Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson is currently 29, so yeah, I think honestly the younger, the better. Pause. Because whenever I'm looking at these players, I'm thinking of like the long term, and I think in the long term, of course, I like Giannis, but Giannis is a little old, a little more expensive, and he's a little more demanding for what we need. In an ideal world, we'd want like a 3-point shooter who could space the floor, play some good D. And Kevin Durant kind of ticks those boxes, but he's just a little old. Although he's old, he still is relatively cheap. Relatively cheap, I mean like as long as we're only giving up Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson, I think it's a really good price. And in any of these trades we end up giving Stephon Castle, our number 2 pick, or Jeremy Sohan, then honestly, it might be a loss. Maybe I could cope with the number 2 pick if we lose it, but as far as those players, I see them untouchable. At least until we give them a real chance at showing their potential in the future. Because I'm just not ready to give up on them yet and trade them for something that might not pan out. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the Spurs do or don't do. Honestly, it's really up to them. If we make moves, big moves, no moves, whatever it may be, I will be watching. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope this guide kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking for. And if you stayed here long enough, make sure you give it a like, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see y'all later.